If you're driving, please remember to use your car's Bluetooth speaker while listening to the AM Drive. Sports talk is not worth your safety or the safety of others.
Grab your popcorn and sit back.
Jump the gun. Oh, no, give me more than that. Okay, go this way. That was dumb. We are.
How could I tell you when nobody wants to? Your favorite words I would choke.
Hello and happy Friday, Football Amigo Frenzy. It is February the 10th, 2023. This is the AM Drive on our Twitter and YouTube pages. For Sammy Action, I am Michael Carvelis. Happy Super Bowl 57, Sammy.
Yeah, I mean, apparently there's football going to be played this week for the last time in a while. It's kind of both a bittersweet and really exciting moment.
I have an idea because the Pro Bowl, nobody seems to like that anymore. Just don't skip a week with the Super Bowl. Like this, I can't wait 2 weeks. I feel like it's been forever at this point.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I think the best Super Bowls have come when they didn't have the week off in between. So for entertainment purposes, you don't miss the week and you get a better product on Super Bowl Sunday. So
it's sad, ain't it?
The Pro Bowl is definitely sad. That's for sure. That's not barely even a game.
Dang. Well, remember to go to mikeandaarondrive.com to see our shop, sponsors, socials, and YouTube all in one place. Aaron tried to join the show today on this special occasion. Boo! Exactly, boo! But he could not due to technical difficulties. That is so annoying. It's not even funny, but hey, here we are. So let's get into it. Brian Daboll won Coach of the Year. Sammy, I believe we're on different sides of this. Let me know if I'm wrong. I say congratulations to what I thought was going to be the Coach of the Year. To me, Pete Carroll's the only one who had an argument against him. Maybe Doug Peterson. What is your take, sir?
Well, as we've been chatting about it, I had him second in the voting of the three that they had given us. They said the final three finalists would be Shanahan, Peterson, and Daboll. I thought it should be Kyle Shanahan, but the more I've dug into this, the more it seems to me, while I think Brian Daboll had a great year and I'm happy for him, and I very much enjoyed their success this year. He's one of the most coach of the years I think I've ever seen. In every category where you can quantify something, he wasn't the best, right? He didn't overcome the most. I mean, that was clearly Kyle Shanahan, right? Having to start 5 games with his third string quarterback. He didn't have the worst roster. That was Pete Carroll, right? He didn't improve dynamically from last year the most. If that was Nick Sirianni or Kyle Shanahan again. So I mean, all the different categories you would look at to determine what made him the best coach this year. He was not the best in any of those categories, but he was competitive in all of them. So while I do think he should have finished somewhere in the middle of the top 5, I don't think a 9-win coach on a team that was supposed to win probably 7 games should be the guy who ends up being the best coach of the year. Not when you have Nick Sirianni, who took his team from 9 wins to 14 wins, and they were at one point I think 13-1. So to me it's just happy for Brian Daboll, just not my choice.
You're happy for Brian Daboll, I guess, because you were a former, or I guess you are a New York resident, right?
Whoa, what is that?
So do with a beard. Boy, Moses over here. What's up, Moses? How you been, bro?
What's up, Aaron?
I have come to give you Super Bowl predictions.
Yay. We're going to have to deal with that because I'm telling you what, man, it should be a fun show today. And we're talking about Brian Daboll right now, Aaron.
Okay.
And Brian Daboll, Sammy said that long story short, he basically didn't have anything that he did the best. Like he didn't overcome the most. He didn't have the most improvements. He didn't have the worst roster. So why should he win Coach of the Year? My thing is the Giants were a train wreck as much as other teams were. And to me, showing the improvements they did to where they're at now offering Daniel Jones an extension is pretty insane considering the no wide receiver thing. So what is your take on this Brian Daboll versus the field kind of thing?
I don't know. I think he's definitely in consideration. For me, he would have been the high got invited to New York, but really was just there, to add to make it look pretty. But I thought he was probably like third. I mean, nice improvement, like you said. They were 6-game improvement, I think, 5-6 game improvement.
5.
They
Yeah.
finished. I know they may have been the best division in football. 2 wins, 100, which I know you don't face a lot with a 4th place schedule from last year. 1-4, 7-1 in the conference. He didn't win a division. He didn't get respect. Obviously, what happened with Geno Smith this year? He won Comeback Player of the Year, but he wasn't satisfied with Geno Smith. I thought, okay, this team might have 2 picks in the top 5, being the Seahawks. Their own stunk it up. We talked about this off the air. I don't know if I'd give it to Shanahan, but I think I would consider Sirianni. It was Pete Carroll or Doug Peterson's award to lose, in my opinion, because of the Urban Meyer left Doug Peterson, and I know he's a Super Bowl winning coach, but and then for Pete Carroll was Geno Smith or Drew Lock. Congratulations, he just wasn't the guy I thought was going to win.
Aaron, do me a favor and rejoin, and we're going to try. Usually the audio syncs weird sometimes. Just try one more time to join. We did get most of that though, so I appreciate that. As for what he said about the about he thought it should have been Nick Sirianni would have been a good one. He also said Doug Peterson was another one. Sammy, what is your thoughts on what Aaron said for the most part?
So I think Aaron's right. I mean, Pete Carroll had to make tough decisions, right? When we came into training camp this year, most people thought Drew Lock was going to be the starting quarterback of that team, right? Yeah,
Yep.
Myself included. And so Pete Carroll had to make the executive decision. We're going to go with Geno Smith this year, and that decision then bared fruit, right? So I mean, as great as Brian Daboll was, he didn't have a tough decision like that he had to make where he had to be right? His roster was pretty lousy to begin with, but he had who he had, and he started all the guys he had. I can't think of a single difficult, personnel decision that he had to make, which again leads me to think, why isn't Pete Carroll even in this conversation? He overcame the most. He had just as bad of a roster. They won just as many games. They improved just as much. They made the playoffs. They were higher up in their own division. What am I missing here? Why is Pete Carroll not in the top 3? Certainly, towards the top.
Yeah, and if you want to look at overcoming things and play an NFC championship, I know this was voted on regular season, but having to go through 3 quarterbacks and winning, correct me if I'm wrong, 13 games, that puts Kyle Shanahan in the conversation, the expectations. And you're right, that defense is all world. They're all I think it would be Daboll, just because no coach other than Jimmy Johnson 30 years ago has double digits.
So Jimmy Johnson was the coach that didn't have double digits for real?
Correct. He was 7-9, but before they were 1-15.
That's fair. That's a fair. I can see that. I feel like winning record does have to matter at some point, so I could see why 7-9 would be kind of brutal. But another thing is, though, with the Pete Carroll thing, I agree with you, Sammy. I believe, Aaron, you're the first one to bring that up in our group chat that we had a few weeks ago. Why isn't Pete Carroll here? Like, what did he do that wasn't worthy? I thought you could at least get rid of it, maybe Shanahan or Sirianni, whichever one you chose. I don't think if you're going to put like 2 guys like Doug Peterson and Daboll, throw in a guy who, let's say, throw in Sirianni, I feel like Kyle Shanahan, the quarterback can be bad on the 49ers, in my opinion. So I want Pete Carroll to replace him. Obviously, this is just talking about ifs and buts and candies and nuts and all that stuff. I would want to see Pete Carroll replace that, and then I would say Brian Daboll did not deserve it. But of the group we were given, I have to go with Daboll.
So I brought this up in the chat last night.
Go ahead.
I brought this up last night. Philadelphia has just as stacked of a roster as the 49ers, right? They have a great defense from top to bottom, great offensive line, a great running game. their backup quarterback is an NFL starter, a guy who started, 10 games as an NFL starter. He's not a rookie. And Jalen Hurts gets hurt for 2 games. They bring in their backup with that exact same stacked roster, and they go 0-2 and drop by half. They score half the amount of points they typically score with their backup quarterback. Not only did Shanahan lose his top quarterback, but then he lost his backup quarterback. Now he's going with an unproven 7th round rookie, and their offense doesn't. That's coaching to me, right? And while I think Brock Purdy is okay, and I think he's a pretty decent player, it's just hard for anybody to come into the league and be a 7th round rookie and then lead your team to 2 wins. Why couldn't Gardner Minshew lead the Eagles to 2 wins? They have a great team too. Winning with your backup quarterback is hard. Winning with your 3rd string quarterback is unheard of.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Wrap it up by saying that, like I think Josh Johnson and the NFC champ have to be somewhat decent on the 49ers to still win football games. Obviously, Jimmy G and then Brock Purdy and of course Kyle Shanahan. When it doesn't happen, Purdy and Garoppolo made it happen, made it work. So, someone had to win it, and they all had their not being either nominated or winning it. So, a lot of good coaches in the league.
That is true. There's a lot of good young ones, a lot of good new coaches, and nobody named Urban Meyer. So that's good for now, I guess. I do want to touch briefly on the Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant things, and then we'll take a break and go to the obvious elephant in the room here on Sunday. But Sammy, I guess I'll ask you more so because Aaron's not the biggest NBA fan. That's a great mug, by the way. Love that mug. MikeandAaronDrive.com. Yes, sir. Sporting it, loving it. Woo! Anyway, Sammy, you like the Mavericks, correct? You like?
I do. I do like the Mavericks. I was going to bet them at 30-1 when Luka was a one-man show. I went to bet them when they picked up Kyrie Irving, but their odds had dropped all the way down to 10-1. And I'm like, not so great anymore. So I did not bet them at 10-1 to win the NBA championship. But I do think they can still compete in what's now a very stacked West. Whereas before the West wasn't that stacked. Now it's a gauntlet.
That's insane. I love Luka, and I believe it can work a little bit, but here's the problem. I just don't know if I've seen Luka be a little bit petty already in his career, whether it be getting Rick Carlisle fired, whether it be not being able to work with Porzingis, who's not like the worst center. I know he didn't play well, but it's like part of that could be Luka as well. But you got to make guys around you better if you are the passing guy. I just don't see Luka playing off ball. I don't see how it's going to work. I hope it does because I'm a huge Luka fan, but this could turn south as much as it could turn north very quickly.
Well, Nick Wright brought up a great point that when Luka's on the floor before Kyrie, they had the number 1 offense in the NBA. But when Luka comes off the floor, they have literally the number 30 offense in the NBA.
Ooh.
So if Kyrie just fixes that for the 8 minutes, 10 minutes a game that Luka doesn't play, that's a huge improvement for the Mavs by itself. And you saw they were 0-7 when Luka didn't play, and then Kyrie comes in his very first game. They win on the road against a playoff team with just Kyrie. So that improvement is clear. Whether or not they can play at the same time during crunch time, we'll see. Kyrie's done well with the superstars to his left and to his right? He's been the number 2 guy. So he's won championships that way. He's met well with other superstars. Well, with Luka, we'll see.
One championship, by the way, not championships. One with LeBron James.
Well, he's been to championships for sure.
Right. I will say before I get it to Aaron is Kyrie. I really hope this does work for them. I lost my train of thoughts. And I'm just gonna go ahead, Aaron. Just go ahead. That was bad.
I mean, I'll give you a chance to recollect here. It's one of the biggest failures in sports of together for a common objection or for a common mission objective. I think when they created that super team that got beat by the Pistons in 2004, but I'm like, at least they got to the final. Brooklyn, is just the biggest laugh I've ever seen. Three nicer guys, three of the more selfish guys in the NBA with Harden, Kevin Durant. And I know, we talked a lot last year about Kyrie Irving and all that. And I'm not going to go down that road, but I just, for these guys, with Kyrie, that you're making a trade, a superstar going, and we're at the point where can he even coexist? Like this is what Kyrie Irving's career. And, I know we're going to talk about KD as well. And, if the Phoenix, his career's dead, he can never be talked about amongst GOATs. He can't, if I'm wrong. If he goes and wins two titles in Golden State and one title in Phoenix, he'll never have clout.
I think the last part we almost didn't hear it a lot, but you're saying if Kevin Durant doesn't win a title in Phoenix, it's obviously he can't be talked about, right?
Even if he does.
Okay. That's a good point because you're right. This Nets thing has to be looked at as a colossal failure, and I agree with that. We can transition there real quick. Kevin Durant, to me, listen, Phoenix, I know people are saying, well, they're not a stacked team. I don't know. The Phoenix Suns are a very good team. They are 2 years removed from a championship possibility. Like they made the finals, and last year they just choked against a one-man show. I feel like people are brushing this off as, oh, they needed Durant. No, I think Durant needed them. Because he had Spencer Dinwiddie and Cam Thomas in Brooklyn. That wasn't good enough. He needs Devin Booker, and I don't see this. This is impossible. If he isn't winning, I don't even think they're going to win it, and that's the worst part about it. Sammy, I need to know your take on this because I know you like the Mavericks, but this is a bad look for him, like Aaron said.
Yeah, the Suns are the clearly best team in the West now. I mean, when you have those three guys healthy, that's the closest thing we have to a big three in the NBA is Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. And in this case, you have two very unselfish players playing with a guy who can shoot the lights out. And the unselfish player here actually is Kevin Durant, right? Kevin Durant has become more of a passer, and Devin Booker, when he's on, he's become the superstar scorer. So the roles have a little bit changed for Kevin Durant, but if he meshes with this team, I find that this team actually is very difficult to beat. But to Aaron's point, when we recap people's careers, we only look at the final numbers, right? We don't look at the story and how they got there. If Durant wins another championship with Phoenix, I think he does go down as having, one of these like all-time great careers, regardless of the fact that he can wake up in the morning and call his owner and say, I don't want to be here anymore. And then 24 hours he's traded, right? The power of the player in the NBA has gotten to the point of being ridiculous, but we won't remember that story. We just want to hear how many championships he won.
That's a great point. And Aaron, I'm with you. I don't agree with the point, but the point is still true. Unfortunately, people will not remember. Now, they have stayed on the fact that Kevin Durant did join Golden State. I'm proud of NBA fans for still holding on to that. But if he does it again with the Phoenix Suns, unfortunately, there's another guy who's called the GOAT and missed the second round 9 years in a row or something like that before Scottie Pippen got there. Like, I'm sorry that he was 6-0, but if we're being honest about what Sammy just said, Michael Jordan was never crucified for what happened the first years of his career, like LeBron James was.
That's fair, but I think that's more of a story of perseverance. If Michael 6 rings with the bad boy Pistons and the Showtime Lakers, that right. Mark of what you're talking about here. But I think Kevin Durant, the first player and the player that we'll remember 7,500 years down the line as the guy 3 titles, but he could never do it on his own, like Michael, like Bill, like he couldn't do it like those guys. Now, I know LeBron teamed up with some, but he falls more in the real GOAT conversation category than Kevin.
Agree with that. Let's take a break, guys. And when we come back, we got to make our picks before we run out of time here. I'm so excited. Unfortunately, I already know Aaron's pick, and it kind of sucks. But, hey, I'm interested to see what Sammy has to say and why Aaron says that one team will win. We'll be right back. The AM Drive with Mike and Aaron might be the best morning show ever. If you love the show, shop the merchandise for $26 hoodies, $16 shirts, even $13 mugs. High quality swag for cheap because Mike and Aaron love the fans. The best morning show, the lowest price merch at amdrive.online.
This is Popple, the next generation business card. With just a tap, your Popple instantly shares your digital business card to both iPhone and Android devices. The best part? The other person doesn't need an app or a Popple to receive your info. To pop your info, tap your Popple to the top of an iPhone, the center of an Android, or just scan your in-app QR code. And just like that, all your info is saved to their phone. More connections, more leads, more sales. That's Popple. Download our free app and get your Popple today.
Aren't you the Vice Golf guy?
Yeah, you want an autograph?
Yeah. Actually, I was just wondering if the balls are any good.
The balls are amazing. You look like a Pro Plus guy.
I thought you'd never ask. It's actually better than my old ball.
And it's half the price.
Top performing golf ball, half the price. It's almost stealing.
Quit searching the globe and get your high-performing golf balls at vicegolf.com.
Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Go to mikeandaarondrive.com and click whatever next to Sammy's head, the Fanatics logo. Go there, get your merch, get your championship merch before if you want bragging rights, or just afterwards if you just want to ride the coattails like one Kevin Durant. I'm kidding. Go to mikeandaarondrive.com, click the Fanatics logo, support your team, player, and us. And for that, we do thank you. That's Aaron's best line ever. Okay, Sammy, give me your pick. If you have a score, that's cool too. And in like a minute or less, tell me why you think said team is going to win.
I'm going to go Eagles 27-20. And I'm going to say, give me the team with the best offensive line. Give me the team with the best defensive line. Generally, I would take give me the team with the best coaching, but I actually think that goes to KC in this game. But 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'm gonna take the Eagles in a close one score game, but I think the Eagles pull it out.
Darn you. Aaron, give me your take.
Well, it's funny. Traditionally, I'm on the same wagon as Sammy here, really taking the quarterback, the offensive line, and the defensive line, and taking the best 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 in that spot. But I made a decision against Patrick Mahomes, and it's a decision I stuck with betting. I never bet against Tom Brady, and Mahomes has turned into a GOAT like when in the world of sports betting for me. And it's not the only reason. I think championship with the Eagles, or excuse me, with the Chiefs defense and the way they play. Now I know the Super Bowl, it definitely could be, but I'm going to take Chiefs 27-3.
27-3. I'm kidding. He said 27-23, but you can't.
Yeah, 20.
Oh, that was
27-3.
Okay, I got you. That sounded so good over here. Like, yes. Okay. I did not have a score prediction, but I can make one. I think if this game, if my pick comes correct, I believe one of these teams has to play good defense, and I don't think it can be high scoring. Because I think if it's high scoring, I think the man to my right is correct. My left, you guys is right. Okay. I have tried so hard to get off, like, just say, hey, it's just because Patrick Mahomes is the best player does not mean he's going to win the title. I know the last 9 MVPs have not won it. And that probably is a reason why, because it's just a one-man show pretty much. This Chiefs team is different, though. Isaiah Pacheco runs very hard for a 7th-round draft pick. And I knew before the playoffs started they would need the running game, and they've used it pretty well. I honestly was scared to death when I picked Mahomes against the Bengals. And I think Bengals were a very good team, if not a team like the Eagles, just so well-rounded. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs again. I think the Chiefs are going to win it 24-20 or 24-21, whatever, however you want to play that game. All I know is that the Chiefs defense has been really good, even with a bunch of rookies. This Chiefs team seems committed to being all-time great. I think they're going to be. I think it's going to ruin a hell of an Eagles team.
The two things about the Chiefs that scare me, we've learned two things watching this year and previous years. The way to beat Patrick Mahomes is the way the Buccaneers beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, which is get tons of pressure in his face with your front four. And nobody does that better than the Eagles. But the thing that scares me about the Chiefs is they went into San Francisco when San Francisco had that juggernaut defense middle of the year and just lit them up. And so if they can do that to the Niners in San Francisco, this is before Brock Purdy. This is with Jimmy Garoppolo is still a quarterback, and they can just dominate that defense. They can dominate any defense. So it's a very interesting dynamic to see which way it goes, right? So if the Eagles can get pressure like the Bucs did, they can give them a nightmare game. But if the Chiefs can come in and destroy them the way they destroyed the Niners in San Francisco, it'll be a big Chiefs victory.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I just think we're going to get a nice clutch play out of Juju Smith-Schuster. That's my thing. Juju's going to get vindicated.
Yes!
Getting bounced out of Pittsburgh. Juju for a nice clutch play. I don't know if that's a game sealing first or something along those lines, but I don't know. I feel like Juju's going to have something important Sunday somehow.
Is that your MVP?
No, I bet on Pat Mahomes at plus 135.
I feel like that the best bet is the MVP bet, because I'm telling you what, guys, and then we'll leave it here, because it surprised me to see the Chiefs money line is plus 105 on BetUS. Okay, that blows my mind, because I feel like a good 65% of people, as far as I can tell, or at least on Twitter and Facebook, are going, like, I feel like the majority are going with the Eagles here. Does this surprise you? You can barely get any money on the Chiefs to win this game. Like, what does Vegas know that I don't? I feel like okay, 120 would be nice, but 105 when 70% of people I see online are going with the Eagles, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I thought the line was going to be Eagles -3. I mean, the Eagles have obliterated everybody they've played in the playoffs. And the Chiefs had a really tough game, but they probably should have lost against Cincinnati. So if you just go by the last game, you could think the Eagles are the far more dominant team coming in. But I think, like Aaron had said, it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes.
That's right.
And he's the Darwin of the NFL. I mean, people love root for great players, and he is the best, if not one of the greatest of all time, certainly the best this year. I mean, and MVP. So I think people just have a hard time betting against that combo of, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And so this line is close. But I remember when the Chiefs played the Bucs, I thought that line was going to be a lot bigger, with the Bucs coming in, having barely survived against Green Bay in the NFC Championship game. And meanwhile, the line was only 3. So, Vegas knows what they're talking about. They know to keep these lines closer. And I'm just hoping we get a good game. I hope it's entertaining. I'll be going to a Super Bowl party, and I'm rooting for the Eagles. I was going to go buy a Kelsey jersey and have a good time at the party.
Well, guys, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Aaron, for toughing this out. Thank you, Sammy, always for coming on, filling in these last few weeks and months for that matter. Season 2 of the AM Drive is almost a wrap. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun on Monday's show, if we do have one, and we should, by the way, on an Action Monday. For Sammy Action, who always fills in awesomely, Aaron Crouch, who needs a new PC because people cannot drive, I am Mario Carvello saying have a great one, guys. Go to MikeandAaronDrive.com and follow the AM Drive at AM Drive TV on social platforms. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye.
Good luck this weekend.